Clarity. I want to talk to you about when I talk about clarity, what I'm talking about. Everything we're talking about this week, okay, is obviously coming from an abundance mindset, abundance philosophy perspective. But the big things we're going to be doing are to do with energy and manifestation. Manifestation. When I say manifestation, I'm just talking about making things show up. When I talk about energy, I'm just talking about the energy that we use to make things show up. So, when I talk about clarity in the context of this week, that might not be what you think of as clarity at this stage. Because if I go around the room and ask people, can a couple of people give me a definition of what do you think clarity means? What am I going to teach you? What do most personal development, personal growth training courses in the world on the known universe begin with? No, the good ones might. Goals. And alignment. All alignment, confidence, these are all really, really important. We're going to touch on all, we're not going to touch, we're going to go deep on all of those subjects. Deep with the mermaids. But when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Tony Robbins or whoever. Goals just seem to come up very, very quickly. What do you want? What do you actually want? Okay, what do you want? What's your goal? List 5 goals. Okay, and that's it. You'll hear it again and again and again. It's a mantra. You've got to know what you want. You start. Stephen Covey. You start with the end in mind. You start at the end. Even a lot of NLP trainers, start at the end of the timeline. Not the end of the timeline, but start with the future timeline. Where do you want to be? Start there. When you know what you want, it's much easier to get there. Okay. What's the problem with this? There's a big, big problem, isn't there? And a lot of you in the room know exactly what it is. What's the problem? You don't know. And by the way, I'm not knocking any trainers who start with goals. Goals are critical, and if you know what your goals are, a lot of people that have studied coaching understand that the clients that come to see you, the groups that come to see you, have very well-defined goals. They might want to get to a certain position in their business. They might want to get to a certain level of business growth. They might want to achieve a certain health target. If they're athletes, they may want to win a certain event or achieve a personal best. These are very clear goals. But not everybody's starting in that space. Who doesn't know what they want? I didn't see enough hands go up, so I'm gonna put this another way. Okay, so we have the wheel of life. Okay, the one thing you're not going to get from me is teaching you things the way other people teach them, or doing things the way other people do them. God forbid. I would hate that. So I want to teach you things differently, whether you like that or whether it holds a space for you to go and do things differently your way. I'm happy either way. I'm really happy when people say, Ed, I really don't like the way you did that, but now I know how I want to do it. That's perfect. Suits me down to the ground. So sometimes there's that kind of push-pull thing that it's not, I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but hopefully by showing you what I do or giving you some ideas, it will crystallize where you need to go. Someone asked me the other day, a couple of times actually, this has happened where they've said, Ed, how do I achieve, what was it? Let's say, for instance, how do I know what goals I need to achieve? How do I know what my goals are? Well, what you do is you forget about them for 5 minutes, you go and put Meatloaf on the music player, and you listen to Meatloaf really loud, and 5 minutes later you'll know what your goals are. And often when I give that kind of advice, which is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, people say, but I don't like Meatloaf. So I listen to the Rolling Stones. I don't like the Rolling Stones. So it kind of makes a mockery of the question. Somebody's asking the wrong question. Well, it's the right question, but you're not going to like it. If someone says to me, how do I set goals? And I turn around and say, I don't know. How do you set goals? That's going to come across as, not very helpful. My point being, until I know you and I know how your operating system, your what I call source code, basically the thing that makes you who you are and your way of doing things, that you came into the world with this programming, until I know who you are in that kind of deep, authentic way, it's very difficult for me to tell you how to do it because different people do things differently. One woman on a course of ours once said, she told me, or she told the group in her introduction that she was at her best when people told her she couldn't do something. Everything I've achieved in my life is because somebody told me I couldn't do it, and I proved them wrong. And her whole story fitted that energy. So at a later point. I filed that away. It was good advice for everybody in the room. Just file things away. You don't always have to jump on them straight away. Any of you who've learned NLP, for instance, language patterns and challenging people's language. So someone says, things never go well for me, and you kind of jump in and say, never? Have things never gone well for you? This is how you're taught to do NLP. Sometimes that's not the way to do it. Sometimes you're much better just to think, well, that's interesting, that person just said that. I'll save that for later on. So that kind of meta view of I'm at my best when people tell me I can't do something is interesting information to file away. So later on that week, somebody the same person said, I don't think I'll be able to. I just don't seem to be able to get started, and I know what I want to do, but I'm a bit nervous and scared, and I can't get started. And I turned around and said, no, you can't do it. And I saw the light in her eyes. I saw a kind of light at this glint of, and she grinned. She knew what I'd done straight away. She felt the response of, I can do it. So sometimes you need to know how somebody works, what their source code is, in order to understand that you can do something like that. Sometimes, kindness, gentleness, motivation, inspiration, all these wonderful energies, sometimes they're not the appropriate energy. Sometimes a different energy works better. So when I'm talking about clarity today, I'm talking about, hey, we're going on a journey for 5 days. It's going to be wonderful. I have an idea of where we're going. But things will change. We'll turn left, we'll turn right. We'll end up in these strange little paradise islands we didn't even know existed. And some of you will get to a certain place and you'll say, that's the place for me. Other people say, no, I need to keep looking, I need a different place. And the point being, I'm crystal clear about this. I don't know where we're going, but I'm crystal clear that I don't know where we're going. Does that make sense? So a lot of people in this room that may have bought into this philosophy of, I don't know what my goals are, therefore I'm not clear. You may have bought into a false premise. Not having goals might be the most wonderful thing. Have you ever seen those people who go travelling on holiday and they know what they're going to be doing every minute of every day? They've got their itinerary. Where should we go? Do you want to meet for lunch at 1 o'clock tomorrow? Oh, I have to go and check my itinerary. Might be able to do 1:23. I've got a photograph to take at 1:22. Okay, very goal focused, very goal directed, very clear on what's happening, but are they really clear on who they are and who they want to be? Not necessarily.